Hi, everybody. I'm Donna Frasca, and this is Mornings with a Medium. Good morning. It's Sunday morning, and I just want to talk about something, of course, has to do with mediumship. The other day, I wrote in a note, what are your questions that you have about mediumship? I mean, because when I started this journey a million years ago, I had 1,000 questions. And somebody asked that what did she say? How do you know that the information you get is from spirit and not from your ego or your intuition or just from your mind? And this is a question that I hear constantly, and it's a good question because even sometimes I say, "Hmm, that was interesting." How do these messages come through? Where do they come from? And how do I know it's just not here? And I always give when this question comes up, I always give the same example of a reading I did a while ago. It was my sitter, myself, and spirit, and her grandmother came through, and then all of a sudden, I'm just sitting here, waiting for the connection to move forward. Because sometimes spirit, well, not sometimes, like all the time, they speak in puzzles or codes or once in a while I literally say, "Hey Donna, tell her blah blah blah," which is great, and I'm so thankful for that because it makes life as a medium so much easier. But sometimes, pardon me, sometimes they show you, I'm clairvoyant, so they show me images, and I have to figure out what it means. So years ago, I was speaking with my with the sitter. Her grandmother came through. Then all of a sudden, I see six top hats right in my clairvoyance. I'm like, wow, top hats? I mean, who even knows what a top hat is or has seen one? Yeah, sure, way back in the day. So at that point, I knew this was a very important detail from spirit. So I said to my sitter, I'm like, okay. I said, your grandmother is showing me six top hats. And I just waited. And my sitter just, she closed her eyes and she was just so happy. She's like, well, she goes, at my recent wedding, all the groomsmen wore top hats. And I said to her, I asked her, I go, how many groomsmen did you have? She goes, six. I'm like, oh. I said, well, your grandmother was definitely there. All right, so that is a great example of how I know the images that I see or the messages I get from spirit are from spirit because when they pop into my head so randomly that even I say, the hell, what? I mean, how does this make sense? Then I stop and I, speak to the sitter and I'm like, does this make sense to you? And 100% all the time they will say yes. All right, so to answer your question, and I'm sorry I don't have your name, but she did ask about how do I know, that the messages I receive are from spirit or for my from my imagination. Now, if it was from my imagination and I just wanted to make, the reading believable, I'd say, oh, grandma was there and she says everything was so beautiful. The groomsmen looked handsome and the bridesmaids were beautiful. That's fluff. And unfortunately, you see that a lot in readings. I just made that up. I would never, ever, ever say that. So, it's better to say less, in a reading. You don't have to keep giving information. Just wait, just pause and wait till spirit gives you these, the images or sensations or whatever clair that's your strongest. That's how spirit will connect with you. So, yeah, I mean, and pausing is okay because sometimes, I'll get and this is one example. Thank God it was in a class and it wasn't an actual reading where I was shown a train and I just drew a blank. I'm like, don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just totally blanked. Now, it could have been if I mean, again, this was in a class I took years ago and in training. So spirit knows that, if you're taking classes that you're in training and they will, they will give you a lesson. So if that ever happens again, you guys are practicing mediums and you see a train and it doesn't make sense, just not a train, but any image, just stop and say, okay, I'm seeing a train. And have your sitter be quiet because the more they talk, the more information they are feeding you. Pause and say, okay, why am I seeing this train? Does it mean transportation? Is their last name Train? Did the spirit person like trains as a hobby? Did they live on Train Street or Caboose Alley or something related to a train? That's when you have to dig deep into the evidence. And I'm not going to kid you, it's not always easy. But once you start panicking, like, oh my God, I got to know, what am I going to do? Then it's kind of, you know, it gets challenging. At that point, you need to stop, just pull back, reconnect with spirit and saying, okay, I don't understand this image. Can you please give me more information? And just relax. I know it's hard to say because I get the heart flutters too. As long as I've been doing this, I always still get nervous during a reading because you want it to be good. You want to get the message from spirit to the sitter. So, but the main thing is to just relax and trust what spirit has to say. And it's good to chat. Say, okay, I see a train. I'm not quite sure what that means. Let me double check and and note what you feel inside, because that's how spirit connects and makes those messages come to the surface based on our emotions, our experiences, and that's how we make that connection. So, all right. So, there you go. And to answer your question, how do I know when my spirit messages are from spirit and not from my imagination in mediumship readings? All right, mornings with a medium. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good day.